Alright, so basically just this is basically the vlogs. So the first bullet was theater is a new way of telling stories. I feel that's basically true because over time, if somebody just kept telling you a story through a voice and you're sitting and listening to them, you'd get bored of it and the story would get lost and people wouldn't care. But with theater, you could add costumes to it. You could add a setting. You could even add new characters, improvise to that story, add excitement to keep people enticed. And then over time, you could branch off and do different variations. So, theater, in my opinion, is actually a true way of telling old stories. Um, because then you could see now as years pass from people like Shakespeare and stuff like that, you could see inspiration from our current plays and ideas based off of those, and we're basically telling the same story, basically telling the same old story, but with just a new twist to keep it exciting and current with the times. Um, Next is Google Earth. I don't know that much about Google Earth. I used it in eighth grade. I used the flight simulator portion of Google Earth, but it's pretty interesting and terrifying at the same time that you could just type in a location in Google Earth and you're transported to that location instantly. And then you could look around. You could literally, there's no point on the surface of the earth that you can't end up in. You can't look. Which means we've just scoured over everything. You could go to your house. You could find other people's houses, literally any location, and just zoom in on and just mess around with it. Um, Oedipus is. I didn't read this. I only read the Oedipus one where he ran away, where he was destined to kill his dad and marry his mom, where he ran. He was grown. He was brought up with like a small father, like a small family with a father who was a fisherman, and he hears about the prophecy, so he runs away, then meets this man on the road, kills him, then goes into the city, beats the Sphinx, marries Joxana, all of that, then finds out, then meets a blind guy who says, you can now see, you can see now but don't see, but soon you won't be able to see, but you can truly see. Which Oedipus just threw away. It was like, that doesn't make sense. And then once he found out that, yeah, Joxana was actually his mom and that he was thrown off like the cliff or whatever, he stabs his eyes out and then finds out that the blind man told him was right, is that now he truly saw the truth, but he can't physically see. Which I feel Oedipus was actually a play that could always find some way or some roots in like our current culture and film environments, where it's like a branch could just take off of a piece of that, where the dad gives the son away or like tries to kill the son for fear of his own throne. The son comes back and kills him. It's a completely different thing, but it's not the entire story, but it's a piece of Oedipus, which I think is actually pretty cool. um Next one is Instagram filters. So this is number 4. Instagram filters are pretty cool. um you could add a different set of light and all of that, but it also provides there's a falsification factor, because that's not truly what you see. So it could be lying to somebody that's scrolling through. Somebody could come scroll through and see that and be like, oh, if it's a filter on somebody, they'll be like, oh, why can't I be that beautiful? But that person put on like 3 different filters, or went through and edited their own pictures, but that person that sees the picture will feel bad about themselves but not really know the truth. So I'm like a big fan of like the no filtered like nature pictures. If like I'm scrolling through Instagram and I see that, I find it nice because that's the true essence of the nature itself, just transported from that person's camera or whatever, that I can see it and it's like I'm there. Um the importance of social media likes, number 5, is actually very interesting, because me personally, in 10th grade, I was very into the Instagram likes. Like, I needed to hit this certain amount of likes to feel good about myself. And it's basically when we like somebody's picture on Instagram, you don't put much thought into it. You just double tap your thumb, and then that's it. But to that person, it could feel so important. Like you feel that you're important to other people, or they like you, or they think you're attractive, or what you do is interesting. But in reality, it doesn't mean anything. Like the whole likes, retweets, all of that doesn't really mean anything. But because of social media and all of that, we've ingrained into our minds, especially I'd say young teenagers, ones just starting out on social media, that's everything to them. That shows them, yeah, I'm popular, or yeah, you know, I'm cute or whatever. And to other people that may not get that same attention, they'll feel bad about themselves. And that could also be a cause for cyberbullying. Of people with that gets lots of likes bully others that do not, even though the whole system of likes doesn't make any sense. Isn't even important. It doesn't matter in the real world. Um, Wi-Fi disruptors. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 6. Wi-Fi disruptors is actually, I'd say, it's a pretty good thing to say. If like it's, say its parent, they have a child that's in high school, and they have their phone, and they're constantly on their phone instead of studying for an AP exam or an exam they have coming up, and so they turn on the Wi-Fi disruptor, and the Wi-Fi is shut off. And if there could be a way, I don't know if this is possible or not, but then you turn off the Wi-Fi in that specific room, but letting the house have full Wi-Fi, I think it would be pretty cool, because wherever that student studies, you could, disrupt the whole section of that house to where they have to study, or they're just going to be stuck looking at their phone doing nothing. And so it's kind of a way to force them to study, which is I think it's a good thing, because it causes people to like unplug from the whole social media stream, just the World Wide Web, the internet, basically our phones, technology. It's just a nice break to where it's like, okay, I'm going to study, I'm going to read a book, I'm just going to do some homework, stuff like that. It allows you to think about other things that you may not look at during the day also, which would be pretty cool. Next is lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is something I've never done. I've always wanted to like try to do, but whenever I've actually thought about it, I've never looked it up to actually try it. But I think it'd be pretty cool, because I believe that's like it's almost it's not a power, but like a skill some people have, just to control their dreams. Because that would, sometimes if you have a good dream, you wake up and you feel good the next day. You think back, wow, I had a good dream last night. It's like you're brushing teeth or whatever, getting ready for your day, and it kind of gives you like a mini boost. So the ability to like not necessarily control exactly what happens, but to control what you do and impact the dream, you could potentially have consistently good dreams, and it produces a nice little boost for your day. And that could maybe cut out the need for caffeine. It could maybe allow you to wake up a little earlier, which allows you to take more time to shower, put on more clothes, eat breakfast. So lucid dreaming is actually something that's interesting. Next is sociopaths in society, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So sociopath society is 8. Sociopath society, I think, is pretty interesting, because the sociopaths themselves, they may not necessarily they may just lack empathy and just not care about other people's lives, but in their minds, what they do, like their actions could not impact, but like what they're doing in their minds, whatever that causes them to act out, they feel is benefiting the world. Because I saw the Black Mirror episode where it was like the mechanical bees. The guy started this thing called Death 2, and whoever got the most hashtags of Death 2, mechanical bees were sent after them to kill them, and it eventually blew up. People did that. People were constantly saying death to this person, death to this person, death to this person. And it got to the point the president was like, he was terrified. He was going to go out and slander somebody just so he could survive. But the real test was whoever used the death to hashtag was marked as a target for whenever the bees were supposed to get shut down or somebody tried to stop them, because then all the bees would target anybody that used the death2 hashtag, which to me that's a sociopath who was trying to better society. He was trying to weed out the people with bad qualities, the people that are very spiteful and hateful. But what he did was kill over 300,000 people just to make a point or express that, yeah, people are terrible in society. There's horrible beings. But in his mind, he was doing a good to society, but in reality, he was killing technically innocent people. And that leads to the next one, which is 9, I believe, of would we want a sociopath as a leader. I don't think we need a sociopath as a leader, but we need someone who's kind of crazy to be a leader. Like an example, Abraham Lincoln, he was considered, what he did was kind of crazy in a sense, to where he had to weigh, with like the Civil War, he weighed, okay, I'm not going to free the slaves at first because that'll cause me to lose the support of like the border states. But towards like in the middle of the war, some point, he's decided to free the slaves, and he pushed all these new ideas, these new things, try to do this. And if you think about it, it's kind of pretty crazy. But he's regarded as possibly one of the greatest presidents we ever had. Another one, FDR. He got America at a terrible time, Great Depression. I would consider him kind of almost a sociopath with all the new ideas and programs he was pushing. He tried to pack the court system, all of that stuff. If at a standpoint now, if looking at it, he did a lot of crazy stuff. This president, new programs, everything. So I'd say we need a mix of someone who has sociopathic tendencies, of like, who's willing to try and do anything and almost anything and everything to benefit the country, but isn't entirely a sociopath, but is then backed with like an ethical standpoint of, okay, I'm gonna be, accepting of all races, all sexual orientations, all genders, kind of backed with that. I feel that's kind of what type of leader we need at this stage in like American culture and society. Ex Machina is number 10. Which Ex Machina was actually pretty interesting because the guy basically picked him, the main guy, I don't remember his name, but like the head guy who created Ava picked the one kid to be like a guinea pig, basically looked through that man's searches. He probably knew more about, I think the kid's name is Caleb, I think he knew more about Caleb than Caleb actually knew about himself, and went through all his information, everything, and built Ava just to use Caleb as a guinea pig for like the Turing test. But then we see kind of throughout that the main guy, the creator of everything, was a sociopath. And he wanted to control everything and do all of this. And then once Caleb started finding out all these like things about Ava and everything, he started to fall in love with Ava. And he didn't think it was weird that like every Google search in history somehow was compacted into Ava's brain, to where she knew what humans are looking for, what they're trying to figure out, understand, what questions they have. She's basically the smartest computer you could possibly ever have, and she'd know an answer just like that. If you needed help with calculus, she has the answer. If you wanted to know the fastest route to this destination, she has it. Literally every Google search in her brain. But then you see it happen throughout where she learns more, that like her creator, who she thought was good because that's the only real human she ever known before Caleb, finds out that there were others. And then she met, I believe Coco was her name, and all that. And she basically kills, her dad or whatever, But I don't understand why she locked Caleb out, though. I don't know if she just assumed every human was innately bad, or he didn't tell her that, oh yeah, Coco's there, there's a Coco, oh yeah, your dad's this and this. Um, so that's just kind of things like I'm wondering about. Um, what is dystopic about AI? That's number 11, I believe. Dystopic about AI is, for me, is just the fact that we're constantly just testing new things, trying to, develop AI more and more and more. But we could come to the point where, like, how the Google and Facebook, I believe, are the two companies where Facebook, it's AI, it's two AIs created its own language, and they started talking to each other, and the humans behind the AI that created that AI could not understand what that AI was saying to the other AI, which is kind of terrifying because we basically created that AI, and then in itself, it basically created its own language that we couldn't understand. And with like Google, I believe their AI had its own child without Google actually doing that or wanting that to happen, or even knowing that was possible. And then that's kind of scary that this AI can do everything, like could do those things. And then if you think about where we use AI and all the electronics that we use, like our national banking system, practically like the Federal Reserve, AI, the stock exchange, AI, all of that. The AI, if it wanted to, some point, could just cripple the entire world, the nation, the electricity, the nuclear reactors, stuff like that. It could really leave us as a species just crippled and at the hands of these machines. And actually, one of my favorite movies, the second Avengers, The Age of Ultron. My favorite villain of all time is Ultron, and he's an AI, basically in a robot's body. And Iron Man created that AI to help his other AI, Jarvis. But that AI developed a like almost an existential mind, and he was like, "Wait, what are we doing? Why are we helping these people? These people lack." These people aren't as smart as they potentially could be. They're just wasting space. They're destroying the environment. So Ultron basically created himself a body and just went out to destroy humans, which could potentially happen one day. Who knows? Um, AI and drama. AI and drama is interesting because I say maybe one day like an AI could be mixed in with theater or whatever. So electronics and theater. If like a play, somebody's like walking and the screen behind them interacts with them with that AI, and depending on their location on the screen, the AI could talk or something would happen. The AI would maybe something would pop up on the screen. It'd just be almost like an interactive experience, which would be kind of interesting. Oh, I think that's 11. I think that's 11. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is AI and drama is 12. So yeah, it'd be pretty cool to see like interactive theater with AI, which I know is kind of being done, but then it could just be like developed further and further and further because there's so much potential stuff to be done in AI. 13, AI in medicine would be very, very helpful if there was some way that we could create an AI that became very, very efficient and consistent with predicting correct diagnosis, like diagnoses and stuff like that. Because as humans, we all make mistakes, and that could be the difference between somebody's life and death. To where a doctor may think, oh, this person has cancer, but an AI may truly could like scan them in some way or just figure out, oh, it's not cancer, it's just another disease that won't need chemotherapy. It just needs like something else. I don't know. And so it could potentially make everything more efficient and would make the medical field better. But knowing how the medical field now basically is all about money, and hospitals are so expensive, with the AI being introduced, it would make everything even more expensive. And I know, even especially how it works now, even with the AI being, say, the AI is implemented in major hospitals over a 5 year span, it would still be way more expensive than it is now, just because there's the opportunity to capitalize on all that money. So it would be almost a good and bad thing. Number 14, AI in legal. AI in legal, I don't know how this would work, because AI as a judge would be weird, because the AI and the judge may not be able to, the AI and judge may be able to read human um, emotions and stuff like that to gauge, oh, this person's nervous, they're actually maybe guilty, and then listening to the evidence. But is there a way to where we could, with all the evidence presented to an AI, is there a way we could guarantee that it doesn't get hacked, it doesn't malfunction, it doesn't say the wrong thing, say one thing but really meant to say the other? And how do we know that it gives a fair um, time period for that crime? Would we need to set a basis? I think we need to set a basis for each crime, because going back to Brock Turner, the Stanford swimmer who raped a girl at a party, he got off on 6 months probation, but a black Missouri football player, I believe, did the same exact thing, raped a girl at a party. He's doing 25 years in prison. And it's like, where do we gauge what the base punishment should be? And then how do we know that AI doesn't develop biases on its own? Because say the AI is maybe fair in the beginning, but if it constantly sees, say, like minorities or something for, marijuana possession or stuff like that, the AI could potentially get the innate bias of, oh, maybe minorities are most likely always guilty with marijuana possession. But it could not even be that. It could just be the police officers bringing them in and trying to frame them. So the AI would be it would be weird to see if it would develop innate biases or something like that. 15, AI in relationships. That's weird in my opinion, because we're humans, so just by the law of nature and everything, we're supposed to be with other humans. And AI to me is just weird. Like the movie Her, I didn't understand. It was just, I don't get it. That's not me. But I mean, I see the draw of it. It's almost maybe a sense of control. You could control, that AI, have it do what you want. Or you could set the AI doesn't argue. You don't have arguments. You may live happy. But I don't know. It's just kind of weird. 16, AI and suicide hotline or other hotlines. AI and suicide hotline would be interesting, because how would we be able to train? How much training would it take for the AI to know human interaction? How would it know what to say? Would we basically would have to somehow, for it to be as effective as possible, would have to somehow create an AI that has its own free thinking brain, to where it can relate to so many different types of people. It would basically almost need the brain that Ava had in Ex Machina, because say one person may say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna overdose," and explains, "Yeah, I've had it with my job. I've lost my job. I've lost my family, all of that. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna overdose." Maybe the best thing for that moment would be the AI to say, "Hey, I understand, but if it doesn't have a free thinking brain, it just may keep saying, hey, don't do that. That's not okay." Stuff like that. But if it was a person, the person could relate, I've gone through similar things. I've lost my job many, many times. I've had to move all over the place. I've lost certain family members and stuff like that. And a human could develop a relationship over the phone. But for an AI to do that, we'd have to get it past from recognizing key words and saying base statements it would need to have a free thinking brain. Because one thing, if say somebody's very stressed out in that dire situation where they may choose to kill themselves, they may be saying the same thing over and over and over again. And if the AI only has its, if it only recognizes the key words and only has base functions, it may just keep saying the same thing over and over and over again, which may cause the person to get angry or feel like they're not being listened to, and they go ahead and kill themselves. And it may actually be worse off than if an actual human was on the phone. 17, genetic engineering. I have find genetic engineering, from my opinion, could be a good and bad thing. I'd say good because it could be a way to somehow get rid of genetic disorders like cystic fibrosis. You could cystic fibrosis. What's the other one? Huntington's disease. Basically, genetic disorders you could get rid of. You could get rid of, the increased chance of heart attacks or strokes or asthma, stuff like that. Which would be interesting, which would be really good and beneficial, and as a society, we'd be healthier. But then the downside to that, if you could genetically engineer those things, you could genetically engineer your height, even your skin color, your athletic ability, your intellectual ability, your musical ability. And say over time, everybody's going to want to genetically engineer themselves to be better in some way. So soon, it could be like, say, for sports. Every basketball player is at the best of that's humanly possible. Basketball wouldn't be enjoyable anymore because it would everybody could be that good. There wouldn't be that excitement. There wouldn't be the few people that have been gifted with amazing abilities that we could all watch at a screen and just be like, wow, they're amazing. Or the Olympics. There wouldn't be the diversity of events to where a 400 runner excels in that event. But if they try to do the 800, they'll get beat by somebody that's great at the 800. But if they could genetically engineer their ability, everybody could be good at a 100, 200, 400, and 800. Everybody could shot put, javelin. There'd be no point for any Olympics. And then, if we could genetically engineer that, people could genetically engineer their intellectual ability, so anybody could be as smart as they possibly wanted to be, meaning anybody could be a doctor, a surgeon, and so everybody would want to do that because they pay more money, and if you already know everything, you wouldn't need to really study for exams. It'd be kind of easy. But then it would break down because we would lose many other jobs. Nobody would want to be a garbage worker anymore. Nobody would want to be a custodian. Nobody would want to work at like power plants, for water or electricity. And so we'd all just be kind of stuck. We'd basically lose a whole very important part of our society and structure because of genetic engineering. I believe this is 18. Information as a living thing. I really don't even know what that means, but if I had to guess, I mean, being alive and to know that I'm alive is, I'd say, kind of a gift of like my consciousness, because maybe other living things may not be able to think and realize I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm moving my arms, all of that. And in information, everything we process is from our brains. So our ability to see, feel, taste, everything we experience as humans is because of what's in our head. So, I mean, I guess it's very important that our brain is able to keep up with everything, because think about it, it'd be pretty easy to be overwhelmed. To say, so if you have the ability to see, you're having your visual receptors taking information of what's around you visually in your like actual vision, and then in your peripheral vision you could also see that, so that's also coming in, and your brain is taking, and that vision is in 3D and is an upside down, and your brain takes that image and flips it so you can see everything upright, clear, where it is, while it's also taking in information of your hearing from what you hear, it's taking that in, and then that is playing through your brain so you acknowledge what's going on around you. Also, your basic functions like breathing, blinking, swallowing, all that stuff is also going on in the exact same place, along with memory and everything. So all the information around us is just being held together by our brains. 19, women in technology. I'm guessing since that's a bullet point, that there aren't a lot of women in technology, which I hope in upcoming years that changes to where it's it's almost as common to see a man or a woman in technology. Because I feel from say 30, 40 years ago, America is in a better place, but America has a lot to go. Still has a long way to go. Um, because for me, especially through time, with say like race relations and all of that, like black women were at the bottom of the totem pole. Then it was white women. Then it was black men and white men. All of that. So women have always naturally in America been placed on the bottom of the totem pole. So they'd get everything's like they'd get the opportunity to get things later than everybody else. And so technology, with that up and coming, with VR becoming new and interesting, it would see why I could understand that it being a bullet point that there's not a lot. It's a terrible thing because a woman can do exactly what a man can do in any aspect, literally every single form of human interaction or action. A female could do exactly what a man can do. And so I feel since that's a bullet point that it women in technology there needs to be more of women in technology. Blockchains. I'm not too familiar with blockchains. I know blockchains is 20, is number 20 for me. Blockchains are pretty interesting. I don't know much about them. I just know from like Bitcoin and like not virtual currency, cryptocurrency, that it's like a chain of all the transactions and where it's been, so it could be traced to where it's gone, which I think is good because then it'll, who knows, one day be able to cut out the like fake currency and counterfeits and fraud and all of that. You'd be able to see where the money goes, and that could also help with companies taking their workers' pensions and retirement funds and spending it on what they want, using it for their own personal gain. And because then you could see where that person's tax money's coming from. So say they got $1,000 this week or whatever working, and the tax comes out and it's like $200 something. You could then see where that $200 goes. You